This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire.
They're not assimilated and are not Borg.
They're the LP in H.org. Here's a list of Libertarian Party members who now or recently held public office in New Hampshire. If you'd like to get involved, come to their next meeting, January 13th in Manchester.
You should also know the LP&H will be running a hospitality suite January 5th and 6th at the New Hampshire Liberty Forum in Nashua. New Hampshire's Libertarian Party is independent of the National Party. They're not assimilated and are not Borg.
They're the LP in H.org.
This is a general roundup of New Hampshire Liberty News for December 29th, 2007.
As many of you know, there's been rumors floating around that we're...
Ron Paul backers in the Free State are hopping mad over the possibility that Fox News Channel may exclude Ron Paul from an upcoming presidential debate.
Dr. Paul's official website, ronpaul2008.com, has included a press release on the matter, which quotes the New Hampshire State Republican Party, as well as an Associated Press report. It says both of them are claiming Dr. Paul will be excluded from the January 6th debate, which is supposed to occur in New Hampshire. After less than a day, the story already has 16,007 almost. Let me start that over. After less than one day, the story already has almost 17,000 hits on Dig.com, and the story is all over the mainstream press as well.
Meanwhile, Dr. Paul's campaign continues unabated in state. Paul was scheduled to meet today, this morning, at least two different locations with undecided voters. Core Ron Paul supporters in New Hampshire are asking that if you are a Ron Paul supporter, you concentrate on bringing undecided voters to Ron Paul events as opposed to bringing yourself or other supporters. Paul events have in some case been characterized by an excess number of supporters, making it difficult for undecided voters to get to him, or at least more difficult than would otherwise be the case. By the way, the video you see here was not shot today. It's a file video from the last few months. They're not assimilated and are not Borg.
They're the LP in H.org.
Another thought I wanted to share with regard to the Paul campaign. I've had a lot of folks come up to me and ask me, what is Plan B? What happens if Ron Paul doesn't win? And that is a question I've been asking myself a lot. In fact, I was asking myself before anyone else ever asked me, so it's very good to hear that question. I personally think Dr. Paul's chances of winning the presidency itself are reasonable, roughly 1 in 10. But that leaves a definite possibility that he could lose. So we need to be thinking about that, even as we focus on helping him win or do as well as possible. My plan personally is to try and do something with the Ron Paul meetup groups, maybe after a month, maybe a month after their activity is sort of stopped. Bring some new activity for the groups to do. Maybe just post an event of some kind on a Ron Paul meetup group and keep the organizations and communications active, intact, continuing to be in action. I've also heard speculation that it might be possible to organize some sort of a Ron Paul across America type of movement where people are working to bring congressional candidates into office that are Ron Paul supporters. The important thing is something needs to happen. We need to do something to keep this movement intact if, in fact, the election does not completely go our way. Just having a movement out there this big, this active, this dedicated can have a huge impact on American politics, whether Dr. Paul wins or not. The movement may be capable of winning back our freedoms. So I hope as the campaign draws nearer to its close, you'll be thinking about what you can do to stay active. Maybe it will be necessary to have some kind of a rest period, after the election. But we need to keep the movement intact. We've got to keep it active. In other news, New Hampshire right to travel activist Lauren Canario of Winchester has just done the Ridley Report a big favor.
Lauren has just designed and purchased an animation for RidleyReport.com on the popular Free Talk Live website.
Hats off and a big thank you to Lauren.
Look at me, I'm right there next to SACL CAI. The New Hampshire State House goes back into session on January 2nd. Dozens of bills will be voted up or down that day on the House floor, at least according to the schedule on generalcourt.org. There will also be 2 public hearings that day. I'm counting at least 80 bills that come before the House or Senate floor. I take that back. It looks like there are over 400 House bills. Are bills coming before the House or Senate floor on January 2nd. God save us. Then on January 3rd, 40 bills roughly come up for hearing.
One of the most effective things you can do at the State House to weigh in against a bad law is to show up at the hearing.
That's the most effective time to be there, and you can find out when the hearings are by going to generalcourt.org. I can pretty much guarantee you if you show up on January 3rd, you're going to find a hearing or 2 that you're going to want to testify on. If, in fact, you like to testify, as I do. On January 3rd, they'll be engaging in such important work as defining milk and regulating pawnbrokers, banning the sale of low-efficiency light bulbs, and other intrusive restrictions on our freedom. However, there is something good to report. On January 3rd, there will be a bill which decreases toll rates on our highway tolls. Hats off to this guy I've never heard of, Representative Renzullo, who is one of the co-sponsors. He has an A, you can see, from the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance.
They're not assimilated and are not Borg.
They're the LP in H.org.